So I've been a big fan of a company called Retroflag for a few years now. They specialize in cases and accessories for Raspberry Pis that are themed around classic game consoles. So yeah, I'm like right in the middle of their target market. And I bought a couple of their products in the past, always had good luck with them, and they're coming out with a new offering that'll turn a Raspberry Pi 4 into a tiny original PlayStation. They sent me a couple of them to take a look at early, and while I wouldn't normally do a video all about a Raspberry Pi case, this thing's got some pretty cool features. So today I want to show it to you guys. Alright, so a couple of things that I want to get out of the way real quick. First of all, they are not sponsoring this video, they're not paying me or anything like that. They literally just sent me an email and said, hey, we're coming out with this, do you want to check it out? So thanks, Retroflag. The other thing is that they gave me 2 of them, and I'm going to be giving one of those away with a Raspberry Pi 4. So if you want a chance to enter to win that, check out the link in the description. Alright, so I'm just going to jump right in here. They sent me the basic version, which just comes with the case itself, and the deluxe edition, which also includes an LCD screen attachment, which I didn't quite see the point in at first, but I do see some uses for that, so more on that in just a minute. So starting with the basic, it's not a super exciting unboxing, but there it is. Initial impressions, it feels pretty nice. Like I say, I've been a fan of Retroflag for a while, so I didn't really expect anything different, but yeah, this feels great. So on the front, we've got a couple of USB ports. On the side, there's a removable panel for getting at the Ethernet and the other 2 USB ports once we put the Pi in there. Other side is just ventilation, which is good because the Pi 4 gets pretty toasty. On the bottom, there's access to the micro SD card slot. On the back, we've got power input, micro HDMI ports, 3.5mm audio, and then a couple of threaded brass inserts for attaching that screen accessory, which I'll show you here in just a minute. On the top, we've got a toggle style power button, just like on the original PlayStation, a reset button, which the label looks a little crooked on. Hopefully that's just a one-off on mine. By the way, both of those buttons trigger scripts for safely restarting or shutting down so that you don't risk corrupting your SD card by cutting power abruptly. And then an open button for the disk tray, which looks like it's just for extra ventilation and storing SD cards. Kind of handy, I guess, but I was hoping from the picture on the box that there was like an SD card extension board in there so you'd actually be able to access the SD card up there, but oh well. On the inside, there's a board with USB ports that you just plug into the Pi to reposition those at the front, some header pins to plug into the GPIO pins for power and safe shutdown, and then this board at the back to reposition the power port. There's also this switch down here that I assume changes the behavior of the power button depending on if you want that safe shutdown functionality or not. It also has a spot for an optional fan to clip into and a set of pins to power it from. If you want to add that, you'll need to get a 30 by 30 by 7mm fan, which you can easily find on Amazon for a few bucks. Aside from the case, there's a handy warning so you don't snap your SD card in half, and then a screwdriver and some screws, and of course, instructions. So next up is the deluxe version that comes with that screen attachment. Pretty straightforward, it's the same case with a screen that folds up. It's a lot like the LCD accessory that Sony came out with for the slim PS1 back in 2000, although they never had that kind of accessory for the original PlayStation. It has 2 speakers and some buttons for controlling the volume, brightness, and there in the middle is a button for toggling between 4:3 and 16:9 aspect ratios, which is a nice touch. On the back is, of course, power input, full-size HDMI out, which is cool, and the recessed 3.5mm jack. Also got a couple of screws that go into those brass inserts to hold it together. Now, as for the actual quality of the screen, it's pretty nice. It's nice and bright and crisp, it's got great viewing angles, and the colors are nice and vibrant. As for the speakers, they sound about like what you would expect on a tiny setup like this. Nothing to write home about, but it works. Now, when I saw the screen attachment, my biggest question was, who is this even for? Because I think most people who are going to be using a case like this are going to be hooking it up to their TV and putting it with their other game consoles. But you can power this thing easily from a battery pack. So you could put this into a bag with a couple of controllers, take it to a friend's house or a party, or even put it in the back seat and let your kids play it on a road trip. The other use case for it, and the thing that I'm kind of excited for, is as a desk toy. So if you're like me and you have a desk job that every now and then you have a few minutes to kill, for example, I'm a software developer and sometimes you're waiting for your code to compile, or for tests to run or deploy to finish or whatever. This thing's actually pretty cool to be able to pick up and play for a couple minutes while you're waiting on something to happen. Not to mention the fact that it just looks awesome on your desk too. Now, the comparison I think most people are going to be making here is with the PlayStation Classic that Sony themselves came out with a couple of years ago. Holding them side by side, yeah, this does feel slightly higher quality with the fit and finish, but come on, it's Sony, I'm not going to hold that against Retroflag. They're pretty comparable size-wise though, and they did a nice job of matching the gray on the PS1. The big difference here is that this thing is made for one thing out of the box, playing PlayStation 1 games. Yeah, you can hack it and add more and even install RetroArch to play other systems, but the Pi 4 is much more powerful, so you're going to have much better luck emulating things like Dreamcast and PSP on it. Now, I won't really go far into performance of the Raspberry Pi 4 in this video, but pretty much every Dreamcast and PSP game that I threw at it ran great, as well as most N64 games, which are all things I didn't have much luck with on the PS Classic. Though I'll admit I haven't kept up much with the PlayStation Classic hacking scene. To put one together, you'll need a Raspberry Pi 4, obviously. You just attach the header pins like so, then plug in the USB to the black ports, not the blue ones. It comes with 2 types of screws. Use the shorter ones to screw into place with these 3 screw holes, and then make sure and turn this switch on if you're planning to use the safe shutdown feature, and then use the longer screws to put it all together. As for the software, you'll need a fresh install of RetroPie or Recalbox, and then they have instructions on their GitHub to get the safe shutdown working. It's really easy, it only takes a minute. Now, if you're adding one of the screens, here's what it looks like from the front. Super easy to attach. You just push the 2 together, tighten both of these screws, and that's it. Now, since it's just a Raspberry Pi in there and it's got Bluetooth and USB, that means that you can use whatever you want for a controller. However, I do have a couple of recommendations if you want to stick with that original PlayStation theme. So first, if you have a PlayStation Classic, then it came with 2 of these. They're perfect reproductions of the original PlayStation controller, except they have a USB plug. So they work great right out of the box, although you will be missing out on analog sticks. The only annoying thing is that the USB port on this is upside down compared to the PlayStation Classic. I haven't tried prying this apart and flipping it, but that might be an option if that bugs you. For a more modern option, I've really been enjoying this controller by 8BitDo, or 8BitDo, I never really know how to say it. But it's PlayStation themed, feels fantastic, and the best part is this switch on the back where you can switch modes to use it on Windows, macOS, Raspberry Pi, or even on a Nintendo Switch. Seriously, this is one of the best feeling third-party controllers I've ever used. I love this thing. Finally, my favorite option, if you really want to go retro with it, you can get this adapter on Amazon for like 10 bucks. It'll let you use an original PlayStation controller with it, and it works perfectly out of the box. There's no weird configuration to deal with or anything like that, and even the analog sticks work great. Alright, well I think that's about everything that I wanted to cover. If you guys have any questions about anything, be sure and drop them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them there. Don't forget, I am giving away the second one that they sent me, so if you want to enter to win that, check out the link in the description. And again, a big thank you to Retroflag for sending these over. As always, thanks for watching to the end, and I will see you guys next time.